when Imam Ali died, after Imam Hassan, Muawiyah became Khalifa. Then Yazid became Khalifa. Then his son Muawiyah became Khalifa. Then Marwan ibn al-Hakam became Khalifa. Then Abdul Malik ibn Marwan became Khalifa. Then Walid ibn Abdul Malik became Khalifa. Sulaiman bin Abdul Malik, Hisham bin Abdul Malik, until it reached Umar bin Abdul Aziz. Umar bin Abdul Aziz is the only man of Bani Umayyah who the books of hadith today praise, where there are manaqib literature which have been written about Umar bin Abdul Aziz. However, the question we ask is, when you say Yazid, may Allah be pleased with him, which book has been written in history, in any school in Islam, which praises Yazid ibn Muawiyah? Which book? As in, which book do you have which says, this is the beautiful behavior of Yazid ibn Muawiyah? These are the great actions of Yazid ibn Muawiyah. When a person defends Yazid and says Yazid only had a small dispute with Imam al-Hussein, it was nothing too major. If the dispute was that small, and you are therefore saying he must have been good, show me one book in the history which gives you stories about Yazid. Many of us today, how many of you in this hall have heard thousands of stories about Imam Ali? Thousands. From both the Sunni books and the Shia books. But have you ever heard one story about Yazid, one story, which praises his life? When you come and say Yazid radiyallahu anh, show us why Allah yarda alayh. As in, show us why would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with him? And therefore you find on this area that there are many areas, not only his illegitimate leadership, but his upbringing as well. Number 4, and very importantly in this area, and an area that is often neglected, the Sunni ulama, some of them are renowned as being the most famous. People like Ibn al-Kathir, people like al-Dhahabi, people like Ibn Hajar. What do they say about Yazid? As in, when I say Yazid radiyallahu anh, this comes from the basis that my ulama praise him. Ibn Kathir, Ibn Hajar, and whom? And Dhahabi, they have written 3 books. They have written how many books? 3 books between them. Look at what they have to say about Yazid. In a reply to Dr. Zakir, he should maybe go and see what's written in these books. Ibn al-Kathir has a book called Al-Bidayah wal-Nihaya. Al-Bidayah wal-Nihaya. The book is available in all bookshops today. In this book, Al-Bidayah wal-Nihaya, what does he state? He comes forward and he states Yazid had a number of traits. He had a number of characteristics. The first of these characteristics, he used to consume alcohol. What did he used to do? Consume alcohol. The second characteristic was that he used to like hanging around with boys with no facial hair. I'll leave that to you to understand what he means by that. The third characteristic would be what? The third characteristic would be that he'd enjoy the world of music, alcohol, boys with no facial hair, the world of music. The fourth characteristic was what? This is what? This is not a Shia alim. This is Ibn al-Kathir. We are talking the highest in Islamic history. He says what? Number 4, he used to enjoy monkeys riding on a horse. Yazid used to have a personal monkey. This monkey was his pet. He used to allow it to ride on the horses, and the horses would ride. Number 5, he used to enjoy 3 animals fighting each other. Listen to what Ibn al-Kathir says. He used to enjoy 3 animals fighting each other. He used to enjoy frogs fighting each other. I don't know. And number 2, monkeys fighting each other. And number 3, bears fighting each other. This is not an easy thing to describe, because we are talking about a man who people have the audacity to say radiyallahu anh next to his name. It's not an easy thing to describe. Number 2, al-Dhahabi in his book Siyar al-Ulama al-Nubala. In his book he looks at Yazid. Do you know what he narrates about Yazid? He narrates about Yazid that there used to be this man by the name of Ziyad. This man was invited to go and drink with whom? To go and drink with Yazid. And when he was invited, he narrates, I have never drunk alcohol like the alcohol I drank with Yazid. Listen to the parties they have. Radiyallahu anhu. He says, the sugar came from Isfahan. And the honey came from Ahwaz, and the grapes came from Borda, and the sweet pomegranates would mix together, that I told him, O Yazid, I have never drunk anything like that which you have given me. This is whom? This is Al-Dhahabi and Siyar al-Ulama al-Nubala. Then number 3, Ibn Hajar, As-Sawa'iq al-Muhriqah. Ibn Hajar has a book called As-Sawa'iq al-Muhriqah. In this book, Ibn Hajar, when he discusses Yazid, this is important for all of us, because it's the way we reply. In this book, when he discusses Yazid, he says Yazid can be one of 3. Listen to the discussion. He says Yazid is either a fasiq, or a fajr, or a kafir. Imagine some people say that you may have a BSc, MSc, and a PhD. Others say, is this man an allama? Is he a mujtahid, or is he a marja? The only thing Ibn Hajar can discuss about Yazid, is he a kafir, or a fasiq, or a fajr? Which highlights to you, in the books of our brothers, Yazid was only put in these 3 categories. Either he was known as a kafir, or he was known as a fajr, or he was known as what? Or he was known as a fasiq. And therefore, when you move on to the next area, some people say, how could you say Yazid killed Imam al-Hussein? Why? Because they say Yazid was in Syria. Imam al-Hussein was where? In Karbala. Syria and Karbala are miles apart. Why do you always blame his death on whom? On Yazid. The way we reply is that a dictator sometimes doesn't have to kill the people themselves. A dictator issues the order. He has people who carry out the actions on his behalf. Imam al-Hussein moved from Medina to Mecca to Karbala. Do you know why? Because wherever he went, Yazid was looking for his head. When they say Yazid did not want to kill Imam al-Hussein, Imam al-Hussein got to Medina. Who was Yazid's governor in Medina? Al-Walid. He wrote to him and he said to him, Walid, either you get Hussein to pledge his allegiance to me, or you bring me the head of Hussein. What do you do? Either you get Hussein to pledge his allegiance to me, or you get me his head. Then Imam al-Hussein left Medina. He went to Mecca. Do you know Imam al-Hussein, when he went to Mecca, he couldn't even perform Hajj in the full way? Do you know why? Because they chased him all the way to Mecca. They didn't even leave him in Mecca. They chased him all the way to Mecca. He was there until about the 8th of the Hijjah. People came, what did they say to Imam al-Hussein? They said, Imam, this is now the time of Hajj. I said, where are you going? Why are you leaving? Why don't you stay and perform Hajj? He said, even if I was part of an insect, they would still look to kill me and shed my blood. Meaning what? Imam al-Hussein had so much respect for the Kaaba, the house of Allah, that he didn't want his blood shed in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yazid had the audacity that he told his governors, if Hussein is in Mecca, near the Kaaba, holding on to the Kaaba, kill him until he gives me an allegiance. And so what happened was, Abu Abdullah said, if I was part of an insect. Do you know why he said, if I was part of an insect? Why? Because an insect near the Kaaba is meant to be safe. The Quran tells us that anyone who's in the sacred house, even if it's an animal, an insect, because you know when we go to Hajj, if a grasshopper, for example, comes on my shoulder, or a spider comes on my hands, am I allowed to kill it? No, because everything is secure around the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yazid said, if Hussein is near the Kaaba, if you find him near the Kaaba, go and kill him if he doesn't pledge allegiance to me. Abu Abdullah, they would tell him, Abu Abdullah, stay, don't go. Abu Abdullah to leave, because even if I was part of an insect, he would still kill me. And then Abu Abdullah went towards Kufa. Eventually he reached Karbala. If Yazid wasn't part of killing Imam al-Hussein, why did he make Ibn Ziyad leave Basra to go to Kufa?